Hello everyone, welcome to Dnyanadeep. We all are aiming to become an IAS officer. And in that journey, there is one subject which plays a very crucial role, that would be your optional. Optional is something where you are supposed to make a choice. In rest of the exam process, be it prelims, be it mains or interview in mains general studies. So all these parts are such that there you cannot make any choice. These are compulsory. Each and every single person around you is doing all these things. But where you can make a choice is optional. And when you are given to make a choice, you are supposed to make a wisest choice, a choice which will give you a decent rank in upcoming civil services exam. And for that matter, we are going to discuss that why should you choose geography as an optional for UPSC mains exam. So we'll see some arguments which suggest us why geography is one of the best options which is available here, and how with geography you can score high not just in optional but otherwise in GS, be it prelims, and overall this particular optional can give you a very wonderful rank. We'll see one by one what all important issues or what all important points which we need to keep in mind while we make a decision. Now, when it comes to geography option is something which is most familiar to you. I have put three keywords here. If you read the first point, that is, it is most familiar, most popular, and one of the most trusted subject. I'll decode these subjects one by one. When I'm seeing familiar in the list of optionals or all the optionals which are popular currently, so I'll tell you what optionals are really popular in these days. So there would be geography, which is one of the most popular optional. Then there is PSIR, Anthro, Socio, and History. Fine. So these are some optionals. If you look around yourself, a lot of candidates would opt for an optional amongst these options. Okay? And in these popular optionals, I'm suggesting that geography is such an optional, or geography is such a subject which is the most familiar subject to you. And that becomes one of the reasons why should you go for geography optional. When I'm saying most familiar, look at all the subjects in the list barring history. All other subjects are fairly new. You might not even have learnt about these particular subjects earlier. For most of the subjects, you really do not know what's there inside in the subject. Maybe you have a brief idea of all the subjects, but when it comes to geography as an optional, you would be having a fair idea on what that particular subject is going to offer. And that is why I'm saying that this is going to be the most familiar optional, right? Now, when I say that this particular optional is most familiar optional, what advantage this particular aspect has? Now, if you know some subject inside out right at the beginning, you can decide on how to take a path while crusading through that subject. Now, when you prepare that subject, you would be knowing what would be the pitfalls, what would be your weaknesses, what are your strengths, right? For rest of the subjects, maybe there would be a learning curve. First, you will learn about the subject and then you will learn the content in the subject. But when it comes to geography, you will not have to learn about the subject because you already know subject inside out as it was there at school level. And that is why it is the most familiar optional. Now, it is also one of the most popular optional. If you look at the data for last 7 to 10 years and take an average of what people have always chosen as an optional or what people have opted for, you'd be surprised to find that for last 7-8 years, on an average, more than 20% of the candidates who are writing mains have opted for geography as an option. I'm just putting a very lower number. It can be 20 to 25. So you can see the popularity of the option. So there must be some reason, there would be some advantages which makes this particular optional as a very popular optional. Even today, you would find that a lot of candidates from a scientific background or engineering background, they prefer this particular option the most because it has certain logical, it requires some logical mind, and it helps you in your preparation also. So that is why there is a popularity of this particular option. So we'll also see what all other aspects they would add to the popularity. And most importantly, it is the trusted subject. Okay, when I say trusted subject, there are certain dimensions when I'm using this particular word, that is trust. Now this subject has been there for maybe now 200 or more years. If we compare this particular subject with rest of the subjects are relatively new. Geography is there, maybe I'm just saying a formal study of geography is there for like 200-300 years, but it has existed maybe for 2000 years or so, and we know what is going to be there in this particular subject. So that becomes a point to trust that subject very well. Another important point, this particular subject gives you a certain score. If you come out of the exam hall, depending on how have you written, you would be knowing how many marks you are getting, right? And that is why I'm saying it is trusted. You know in advance, maybe during your preparation also you would be knowing how many marks you would be getting, because this is a subject which is fairly logical. Everything connects with everything else. And this particular part, when the things are logical, when every other topic connects with each other, there is no scope for uncertainty. There would be no uncertainty. For rest of the subject, there could be some amount of uncertainty. With GS, there could be an amount of uncertainty. But when it comes to geography as an optional or geography as a subject, even in your general studies, if you look for the most certain subject, most trusted subject, most rewarding subject, even in general studies, geography becomes the most rewarding, most certain and most trusted subject, because things are straight and simple, things are logical, and that fetches you more marks. And that is why even with geography option, since things are logical, things are simple and straight, you would be able to trust this particular subject very well. You would be knowing how many marks you would be getting when you come out of the exam hall. And that is why this is the most popular, most familiar and most trusted subject. Another important point you need to remember about this particular option is the nature of this subject. If you look at the nature of the subject, it is a interdisciplinary subject. When it comes to geography, geography touches almost each and every sphere or each and every aspect of your life. Take anything, right from the business you do, right from the education you have received, right from the house you have built, each and every single aspect is some way or the other controlled or regulated by geography. And that is why it is relatable. It is very relatable subject, right? It touches each and every single aspect of our life, and that is why we are saying that it is an interdisciplinary subject. And this interdisciplinary nature makes this particular subject one interesting subject as well. You'd get a lot of interest as you start to study this particular optional. Also, when it comes to scores, this also has been one of the highly rewarding subjects. When it comes to the scores in geography, if you are prepared well as per the directions, whatever directions your teacher or your guide has given you, if you do that, there is more certainty that you would receive more than 300 marks in your first attempt itself. I have come across a candidate in this 2022 result. I just don't remember his rank, maybe 40 or 41 rank he has. And that particular guy has written his first prelims, first mains, and in first attempt itself, he has been able to receive a decent rank. All thanks to geography optional. In the very first attempt, geography optional has rewarded him some 298 marks, that is close to 300. What happens when it is your first attempt? You are not even able to complete the syllabus part of the optional. You are not even able to read each and every single part of the option. But this particular guy, since he had a geography optional, and he managed not just to complete the syllabus of the optional, but he has also received some close to 300 marks, and that's a huge number in your first attempt. And that is why I'm saying that this particular optional is a scoring optional. It would not be difficult for you to cross 300 marks in geography optional. When it comes to humanities, subjects of humanities subjects, there is certain limitations. There is a upper number which you cannot cross. In most of the maybe subjects, there is sometimes it happens that there is a difficulty to go beyond 280 or 285. But when it comes to options such as geography, you can easily go beyond 300 plus marks. But for that particular matter, you also need to prepare it well. So you need to remember that point as well. Now, about the nature, once again, subject is highly conceptual. Subject is easy to understand also. There are like few concepts, right? You understand those concepts. Concepts are very easy. There is absolutely nothing rocket science here. Once you understand the concept, the subject becomes easy because you do not need to mug up things. You do not need to revise things time and again. Now, why this particular part needs to be highlighted, or why while you choose optional, this particular part needs to be kept into mind? We'll understand that. See, whenever you prepare optional, there will be like, this is coaching period. During this particular period, you would be attending classes of your optional, be it any optional. You would prepare your option for the first time in classes. After classes end, you will also need to revise whatever you have read. And when you will be writing your first mains, you will also need to prepare or revise optional completely, end to end. Between prelims and mains, there are barely 3 or 3.5 months. I'm just taking 3 months. And during this short period of time, it becomes really difficult to revise the optional portion, because optionals are huge. All the options, they have a significant amount of syllabus, and when it comes to revising the syllabus, it becomes a tedious task. Now, what is the advantage with geography optional? Since this particular optional is conceptual, once you have attained a conceptual clarity, which would be in the class itself, as you'd be learning in the class, you'd be having a conceptual clarity, and that conceptual clarity rests for all your life, right? So even from my personal experience, if I say, so for the first time, wherever I have read the concepts, I did not need to revise it. I have never revised the concepts. Reason being, those concepts have stayed with me. For the first time I learned them, I understood them, and the concepts have stayed, right? So this helps in saving time in this particular part. So revision becomes fast. With concept based optional, you can revise very fast. At the same time, now look at the mains schedule. Between GS paper and optional paper, you would be having 7 days, and in 7 days again you have to revise your optional, a very fast paced revision. So with concept based optional, your revision becomes very fast, and as your revision becomes very fast, what will be the result? You would be able to cover maximum syllabus in minimum time. And if you revise your optional well here in this particular window, you will be definitely receiving more than 300 marks. So that is the beauty of conceptual optional. And here in this geography optional, since a lot of things are concept based, you would be at ease while you will be revising your option. Also, I have already highlighted, this is easy to understand option. Now, there are certain misconceptions when it comes to subject geography. A lot of you, as I have had a discussion with a lot of folks in the offline classes for last few years. Each and every single time I get a response from candidate that geography demands ratta, or you have to mug up a lot when it comes to geography. But if you look at the subject, you would be wondering that there is hardly anything which you need to mug up. Why there is misconception regarding rattafication or mugging up things? It is because of your childhood memories or school memories. In schools, maybe we were not taught this particular subject well, and that's why we had to mug up things. But here, this subject, as we have already said, subject is conceptual. Subject does not demand mugging things, does not demand rattafication. So it saves a lot of time. Since it's a conceptual optional, you have to you have not to revise it time and again. Once you have understood the concept, it stays with you. Revision time span is reduced greatly. Also, you do not have to ratify or mug up things. Since you do not have to mug up things, again that saves you time, energy and your resources, right? So that is one more time you would be having some leverage to spend or to utilize your time for your general studies. So that is how you also get good marks at general studies. So here you would be saving again a lot of time. Then the most important aspect you need to keep in mind is the overlap. When it comes to the overlap from geography optional, there is a significant amount of overlap in general studies mains, and equally important these days is the overlap with prelims. Now when I say overlap, it doesn't merely mean that there would be a subject which would cover 2-3 points from your general studies. But when I say overlap, I am suggesting that it should cover a significant portion for your general studies, so that you do not need to spend additional time in the topics of general studies, right? And when it comes to geography optional, this geography optional, it covers a lot of portion. Now what all portion it covers? So in general studies paper 1, there is a direct topic, that is geography, and if you look at the marks, there is 100 plus marks weightage or almost 40% weightage which has been given for this particular subject. Also, it is the only area from which you can get marks, right? If you look at the general studies paper 1 composition, there is history, there is society and there is geography. Both of these subjects will not or may not fetch you as much marks as you want or as you have prepared. No matter how much you prepare this humanities subject, they do not reward you many marks. But when it comes to geography for that matter is a very safe subject. Whatever have you prepared, there would be a simple and straight question on that particular part, and whatever have you written, you would be receiving most of the marks for the given question, right? And that is why I'm saying, if you want to score good at GS paper 1, it is the subject which is going to sell you. It's the geography which is going to sell you. Also, there is a history. I'll come to that part, how to score in GS1 and GS paper 3, and who is able to score best when it comes to GS paper 1 and GS paper 3. Okay. Now moving on to another paper. Now most of you would be surprised as to why I have said that geography optional has an overlap with general studies paper 2, because there is again these are like common misconception. Often people would say कि geography का overlap सिर्फ और सिर्फ GS1 GS3 के साथ होगा. नहीं, geography optional का जो overlap है ये आपकी GS paper 2 के साथ भी यहाँ पर आपको दिखाई देगा. Which particular topic we are talking about? International relations. If you look at the whole international relation, the foundation of international relations is nothing but geography. The one who understands geography well will understand international relations well, right? Because all the international relations, they are more about resources these days. These days it is out of resources, but historically if you see, it is more about the geographical locations where countries are situated, geographical conditions in which countries are situated, right? So at both of the points, historical points, that is the geographical location and geographical condition where countries are located, That is something which determines your international relations, and also the resource distribution in present day and age determines your international relation. So to understand international relations well, you need to understand the foundation, and the foundation is geography. If you understand geography well, you will be able to understand international relations well. So that is something I'm telling about to understand international relation. But when it comes to GS paper 2 का international relations का part, उसमें भी एक specific topic है which directly overlaps with geography optional syllabus. The topic is India and neighborhood. You have to study this particular topic in the paper 2 of geography optional. Also, there is one more topic, Indian Ocean region, which you are supposed to read in geography optional paper 2. Then there is GS paper 3. Now when it comes to GS paper 3 का आप economy का part छोड़ दीजिए, rest of the paper is about geography, right? Look at the topics of agriculture. Agriculture is nothing but geography. Environment is nothing but geography. Disaster management. What type of disaster do we talk about? We would be talking about landslides, cyclone, floods, wildfire, so on and so forth, right? Everything is nothing but something which is coming from geography. That is why disaster management is not separate from geography. Internal security. Look at the conditions on borders. Most of the condition which prevail on the border, that would be out of the geographical conditions, right? So if you again understand geographical conditions well, you'd be understanding border disputes well. As you look at the crisis in various states in India, internal crisis in various states in India, let's talk about Manipur crisis. The Manipur crisis again comes out the geographical condition. These are the hill state. Small hill areas are there, and in those small hilly areas, there would reside a small population or ethnic groups in every hill area. And again, we come back to resource distribution. There is a conflict which is coming out of resources, right? Everywhere, anywhere, wherever there is internal conflict or external issues, most of the time, the reason for those particular conflicts would be geographical conditions. Now, that is the reason I am saying internal security. That is, indirectly I am saying that internal security is an issue which comes out of geographical conditions. But if you look at the optional syllabus, that is paper 2 of geography optional syllabus, fine, and internal security, there are points of Naxalism, terrorism, northeast issues in paper 2 of geography optional, and the same needs to be learned into this internal security part. So paper 3, again we have a significant amount of overlap. Infrastructure, economy का एक topic है infrastructure, and in that particular topic what we talk about, road, railways, ports, so on and so forth. If you look at your studies till now, in what subject have you learnt about roads, railways and ports? It's the geography where you have learnt about roads, railways, ports, energy, so on and so forth. And that is why infrastructure is nothing but a point for geography optional, right? And that is how I'm suggesting that when it comes to overlap of geography optional with mains general studies, so there is an overlap with GS paper 1, there is overlap with GS paper 2, and there is overlap with GS paper 3. Now you would be wondering, why should we bother about overlap? इतना क्या है overlap में? नहीं है तो क्या फर्क पड़ेगा? See, if there is no overlap, what problems it will introduce is the time crunch. Everyone has got same amount of time, right? I have 100 hours, you have 100 hours. With geography optional, I would be covering significant part of general studies mains. That would save me a lot of time. Now, if you do not go for geography optional or go for such an option which does not have a significant amount of overlap, what will happen? It will not help you saving time. So if everyone has 100 hours and everyone is completing their portion in 100 hours and you go for an optional which does not have a significant overlap, you will need 130 hours, right? But the problem is you do not have additional 30 hours. What all you have is 100 hours. So either skip the portion or don't prepare it very well. And when you don't prepare it very well, what happens? You'll never receive good marks. And that is the reason also. If you look at the marks of GS paper 3 for last few years, amongst all 4 papers, GS3 has been the bottleneck these days. Why GS3 is the bottleneck these days? Because people are not preparing it well. Those who score best in GS3 and GS1, I'll tell you on who will score best or who has been scoring the best. Look at the data. Who has had scored best in GS1 and GS3? It will be the candidate who is from geography optional. Fine. When it comes to GS3, why people fail to score better in GS3? The reason is GS3 demands very precise, very specific answers. And to write those precise and specific answers, the foundation for that is laid by subject geography. If you do not have right foundations, you are not likely to receive good marks at GS3. What happens? How do people will prepare for GS3? They would pick up some current affairs magazine, they would prepare some current affairs issues. जितने भी points उस current affair के magazine में होंगे वो सब मगअप कर लेंगे and they'll go and write. But problem is, if you have no foundation, there is no result, and that is why people are consistently scoring less with GS paper 3. And the people who are scoring best at GS1 and GS3 will be the people from geography. So that is the reason this overlap with general studies matters the most. Now, when it comes to marks, look at this particular chart. Earlier we talked about the subject which overlap with geography option. Now we are going to talk about the number of marks which you can easily cover with geography as an option. So I have presented you data from 2013 to 2021. If you take the average, so on an average, nowadays this number would go for 300. Out of 1000 marks for GS, with geography optional, you can cover 300 marks syllabus for mains exam. And that's a huge number. Almost 30% of the burden is reduced by optional, because those particular topics which you are going to prepare in GS mains and geography optional, since they overlap, you have to prepare it anywhere. Either prepare it with optional or prepare it with GS. Okay, better prepare it with optional, and whatever content you prepare in optional, write it in GS. You do not have to separately prepare for those topics, right? Otherwise, with other options, you will need to separately prepare those topics, and that becomes a hurdle, and specifically that becomes a hurdle in GS3. Every other subject, GS2, GS4, people have understood what is the demand of the subject, and by and large, these days people are getting average marks in GS2 and GS4. But where people are scoring less? In GS3. Why people are scoring less in GS3 or even GS1? Because they do not have a foundation from geography. Okay. So that is the amount of overlap, 300 marks. Remember, 300 marks, that's a huge number. Now, even if we ignore mains, these days there is the toughest exam on this globe, that is UPSC Civil Services Preliminary Exam. By 2023 standard, it does qualify as the toughest exam in the history of the world, or the present exams in the on the globe, right? We all know what has happened in prelims, but who has been easily able to clear prelims? Again, a candidate who has had foundations in geography, or a candidate who has had geography optional. He did not face many difficulties. Okay, I am not saying that a candidate from geography optional did not face any difficulty, but I am suggesting that that to clear preliminary exam of 2023, it was very easy for geography optional candidate. And for last few years, again, it has been observed that more number of candidates who had geography optional are able to clear prelims, right? Why they are able to clear prelims easily, or why there is more number of candidates who are clearing prelims easily because of geography optional? If we look at the composition of prelims, there are deciding subject. What are the deciding subject? There is environment, there is agriculture. This is a section which is very deciding. Okay, And to add to this year there was a significant proportion of question from geography. So from geography there were around 24 questions. I am including static plus current, so do not debate that there are certain current affairs के कुछ क्वेश्चन स्टैटिक और करंट दोनों ऐड करके अगर आप देखेंगे 24 के करीब क्वेश्चंस आपके जियोग्राफी में थे, एंड एनवायरमेंट एग्रीकल्चर को अगर आप ऐड करो 18 के करीब क्वेश्चंस एनवायरमेंट और एग्रीकल्चर से थे. टोटल आपकी कितनी होती है 42, राइट. एंड these days कट ऑफ वुड hover around 80 to 85. ठीक है. सो अब मान लीजिए आप सारे क्वेश्चन तो सही नहीं करेंगे, इवन इफ यू कम फ्रॉम जियोग्राफी ऑप्शनल यू विल नॉट बी डूइंग ऑल द क्वेश्चंस राइट. बट इफ यू कम फ्रॉम जियोग्राफी ऑप्शनल आई वुड सेफली प्रिज्यूम कि आप कम से कम 80% तो क्वेश्चन सही करेंगे. ठीक है. इवन इफ यू हैव 80% ऑफ द क्वेश्चंस राइट, 30 क्वेश्चन भी आपके यहाँ पे सही हो गए 42 में से, इट विल गिव यू डायरेक्टली 60 मार्क्स, राइट. With other option you will not be having that leverage, क्योंकि अगर आप जियोग्राफी के क्वेश्चंस को देखें they are becoming more and more conceptual, बहुत ज्यादा conceptual questions है. ठीक है. बहुत ज्यादा core questions भी आपको उसमें दिखाई देंगे. The problem with geography these days in prelims or even in mains, it has been observed, like I have observed it, a lot of experts have observed it. Geography आप prelims में देखें या mains में देखें, the nature of question is such कि अगर आपका ऑप्शनल है दैट इज कोर ऑफ द सब्जेक्ट, कोर एरिया, ऑप्शनल इज कोर, राइट. अगर आपका जियोग्राफी ऑप्शनल है तो आपको ये क्वेश्चंस इजी जाएंगे, या जो भी क्वेश्चंस पूछे जा रहे हैं इट इज फ्रॉम कोर जियोग्राफी व्हिच इज स्टडीड इन ऑप्शनल. एंड दैट इज व्हाई आई एम सेइंग कि इफ यू हैव जियोग्राफी ऑप्शनल प्रीलिम्स बिकम्स इजी, राइट. एंड एज प्रीलिम्स बिकम, क्योंकि ये पूरी एग्जाम में व्हाट इज द मोस्ट डिफिकल्ट स्टेप or which is the most difficult stage, it is the prelims. ठीक है. You look around yourself in wherever you study, in library, in your classroom, what you will find, most of the candidates are failing to clear prelims. They are failing to clear prelims once, twice, thrice, or even 4 times, right. And somehow after 4 times they would clear prelims, but after that there is nothing left, right. Already you are in the process for so many days. So that is what I am suggesting. If you really want to clear prelims quickly, it is the geography option which will come and help you, right. That is about the overlap in prelims. Another important aspect you need to remember about geography option, resource availability is not an issue. Be it test series, be it books, be it notes, right. Everything will be available in this particular subject, right. There is no other subject which has such abundant material available. Now that sometimes become a problem also, but nevertheless this is a point which you need to keep in mind, because you will not be needing to hunt for material. कुछ एक particular topic पढ़ना है, किसी एक material से नहीं समझ में आ रहा है, you can go on to some other material. It is easily available. Otherwise आपका struggle हो जाएगा. Struggle क्या होगा? एक मटेरियल में से नहीं समझ में आ रहा है, यू डू नॉट हैव अनदर मटेरियल फॉर एनी अदर सब्जेक्ट्स, राइट. अब फिर आपका उस पर्टिकुलर टॉपिक में स्ट्रगल होगा. बट व्हेन इट कम्स टू जियोग्राफी ऑप्शनल, इफ यू डू नॉट अंडरस्टैंड फ्रॉम वन ऑथर, गो फॉर अदर ऑथर, यू विल बी एबल टू अंडरस्टैंड इट, राइट. सो दैट इज अबाउट द रिसोर्स अवेलेबिलिटी. सो करंट अफेयर्स का भी इसमें आपको बहुत ज्यादा एडवांटेज हो जाएगा. नाउ देयर लाइक टू टाइप ऑफ पीपल who think there will be like 2 type of people. One who would think करंट अफेयर्स का ऑप्शनल में ओवरलैप नहीं होना चाहिए, और दूसरे लोग होते हैं जो चाहते हैं कि करंट अफेयर्स का ऑप्शनल में ओवरलैप हो. आई एम द सेकेंड टाइप ऑफ गाय. आई विल टेल यू व्हाई यू शुड आल्सो बी द सेकेंड टाइप ऑफ गाय. सी, फॉर जीएस प्रीलिम्स और जीएस मेंस you anyway have to prepare for current affairs. There is no escape. सबको पढ़ना होता है, सबको पढ़ने के बाद ही कुछ एक आपका प्रीलिम्स निकलेगा या आपका मेंस में कुछ हेल्प होगा, तो आप उसको स्किप कर ही नहीं सकते. यू आर एनीवे यू आर नॉट गोइंग टू स्किप इट, नो मैटर. आप अगर डिसाइड भी करें अभी कि करंट अफेयर्स नहीं पढ़ेंगे, बट व्हेन इट कम्स टू एग्जाम, मे बी 15 दिन पहले, 1 महीना पहले या 2 महीना पहले, you will panic and you will go and read current affairs. So when you anyway have to read current affairs, utilize those current affairs in your optional paper. that becomes an advantage, right? That is not a disadvantage. Your optional answers become better when you use current affairs. और वो करंट अफेयर्स आपको वैसे भी पढ़ना है, ठीक है, आप स्किप तो करने ही नहीं वाले. एंड दैट इज व्हाई आई थिंक दैट current affairs based question are a bonanza when it comes to your option. Now look at these questions. It is about interlinking of rivers. Such a generic question. This has been asked in 2020 paper. Essential commodities bill. Pure current affairs. Anyway, each and every single candidate who was writing mains that year in 2020 was knowing about essential commodities bill, right? So the nature of current affairs question is also not extraordinary. बहुत बेसिक करंट अफेयर्स के क्वेश्चंस यहाँ पर कई बार पूछे जाते हैं, क्योंकि वो जो ओवरलैप है जियोग्राफी का, जो जनरल स्टडीज के साथ ओवरलैप है, इट इज सच ओवरलैप कि आपका बहुत ज्यादा पोर्शन जनरल स्टडीज का जियोग्राफी में कवर होता है. एंड दैट इज व्हाई करंट अफेयर्स भी आप बहुत इजीली जियोग्राफी ऑप्शनल में यहाँ पर यूज कर सकते हैं. सो ऑल दीज आर द थिंग्स व्हिच यू शुड कीप इन माइंड. व्हाई शुड यू प्रिपेयर फॉर geography optional, or why should you go for geography optional? It is definitely one of the most preferred optional, and it is also the optional which will give you scores well above 300, and it will give you a decent rank. Fine. So with this I'll end. See you in some other video. Till then, keep watching.